Greetings, everybody. Welcome to our first honors roundtable of the newly relaunched UAGC Honors Program. My name is Mark Hanitka, and I'm one of the honors faculty mentors. Clifford Blizzard, who is also here, is another one of our honors faculty mentors. And we have a number of honors faculty and faculty members of the Honors Advisory Board, which is a new feature of this year. And through that process and that committee, we redesigned the honors program to what we feel is going to offer more value to students, more options, and give students just an overall better experience to our star students, our students who academically are achieving at some of the highest levels and maybe looking to supplement their normal classes with some additional co-curricular activities like this one that you can discuss with other really high achieving academically minded students and faculty in a more personal setting, and talk about issues related to global issues, innovation and creativity, leadership, which is what we're going to talk about today, and also civic engagement and civic responsibility. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to our facilitator and speaker for today, Bill Davis, who is an honors faculty and also primarily in the Forbes School of Business, where he teaches various courses there and deals a lot and has a lot of very practical on-the-ground experience throughout his career with leadership at multiple levels and multiple different styles of leadership. And many accolades, so many that were in the invitation. I encourage you to look over all of Bill Davis's wonderful experience, but I don't want to take up too much time, so I will instead turn it over to Bill Davis to start our program.
Mark, thank you. And listen, I just want to say one thing, that it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here. And what I really like is to pay it forward. You're going to find out I'm very passionate as I start to talk about leadership. And you're also going to see that since I've been a Toastmasters, I'm going to be a little conscious of not talking with my hands as much, but I'd like to make a point and emphasize a point. And what I wanted to tell you simply was that I love what I do. I love what I do now. I've been blessed with two successful careers, one in the highly competitive beverage industry and the other one here in academia. I spent 34 years in the 7-Up and PepsiCo systems, executive roles, frontline, middle, and also too, I've done very well here. This is very meaningful and gratifying, this particular career, because I am touching lives and I'm paying it forward. And that's why I'm here. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I want to show you one thing. I'm going to be tying in some theories, concepts, different things on leading, managing, how the 5 functions are a coordinated system. And it's going to make it real practical so you get it. And hopefully you take away something from all this. Some will be, refreshers, but some you're going to walk away and go, that was worth my hour being here. And that's what we want to do. Now, I'm going to do one thing here real quick. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to ask you a question and ask you to put it in the chat box. Now, everyone can see my screen here, correct? I want to give you a feel for how I kind of learned at 19 years old when I borrowed money to buy a 7-Up route. I put my education aside after 1 year and I decided to go be a 7-Up distributor and invested in this opportunity. And the next thing, I did that for 10 years and I was highly successful. I'm not going to get into all the details, but it was hard work and I was passionate about it and I loved it. And anyway, what I did here was I put here the roles and the people that I had to interact with. And I just want to give you some context. That's why I'm doing this, because when I was a distributor, sometimes it was me alone out there in the market. Sometimes I was with a helper. Sometimes I was working with other people, but I had to lead them. I had to keep motivated. We had to keep a tempo. We had time windows, stores to get into, et cetera. We had to deal with managers. Had to keep everybody happy, had to understand the dynamics and everything that was involved. Then from there, I made it into the PepsiCo system in 1983, and I was overseeing 10 direct reports. And they were 5 people that did what I did with helpers, much more volume in the PepsiCo system. And then they promoted me in 86, and I became the sales manager of Aurora, Illinois. I had 5 direct reports, 70 people in the facility. Reason I'm emphasizing the people thing is you got to lead people, right? You got to lift them, got to keep them motivated. I'm going to show you how to do that in this presentation. You're going to walk away with some nuggets, I guarantee you. And I hope when we're done with this, you're going to go, I really like those things that he taught me. And these are basic things that I didn't make up. These are theories. Theories explain, predict, and control, and they're partial, partisan, and problematic, meaning you can debate them. But these things I'm going to show you work for me and help further my success. But anyway, I made it to Chicago, the largest facility in the PepsiCo system, as a sales manager, had 100 indirect reports, 8 people reported to me. General manager, North Chicago, 15 direct reports, warehousing, all that kind of stuff. Customer service, technicians, DMs. They brought me back to Chicago. I had 20 people, 170 people in that facility. It did $170 million in volume, but we had 5,000 customers. Then from there, I went to Indiana, smaller location. Then I was a director here in the Quad Cities, 5 direct reports, 20 people on the team, indirect that they were managing. And then of course I was really active in the community where, you had to find them, way to motivate them and move with them and get them to participate and engage them. Then of course, my journey, then I became a GMVP back here in Rock Island. And then from there, I started teaching, and I got here as a pracademic, right? I finished my master's degree. I want to teach a college level course. And the next thing you know, somebody said, you'd be good at that. And then they took me to Ashford University, Clinton, Iowa, where I launched the very first online accelerated course. And it was very successful. 29 students, retained 28. I'll never forget that. So from there, I decided to leave my Pepsi career in 2009 and become an instructional specialist just to get in the door. And we used to look at 170 courses every start, each of us. I did that for 2 years. Every time they'd ask me, what would you like to do? I said, I've had a successful career. Use me the way that you want to use me. And I said, but I was always into succession planning and those other roles. So I'd always say, but pay attention to these folks. They're very smart. This one's got technical ability. You got to, and I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about the team. And what happened is they said, well, the HR people came to me and said, well, how come you gave him the permission not to give you the job? I said, I was just thinking more for the team. And anyway, so then the next interview, I went in more formal and they gave me an opportunity to be a manager. I had, I didn't have 5,000. 5,000 courses we looked at annually, the team and I, 10 people. And anyway, as you look at all these particular roles, I became faculty, lead faculty, program chair. This whole thing started to just generate a lot of serendipitous moments, meaning that where I started, I ended up much better than I ever thought I would have ended up. And what I really love about my career now is so meaningful, so purposeful. So I want to ask you, before I start this presentation, I just showed you how I'm connected to people my whole career since I've been 19 years old. I'm 65 today. And I'm the youngest 65-year-old I think they got here because I love what I do. I'm very passionate. I used to say that when I turned 62, 63. And what people would say to me is stay relative and develop the next gen leaders. I said, I'm here on the team. Let me see what I can do to share my knowledge or help. I have a strength, and that's leadership and coaching, leadership and coaching, leadership and coaching. I equate that to teaching. So here's what I want to ask you. Put in the chat, please, if you would. You know a lot of this. Some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, what I've already told you, you've already seen, you've probably read, you practice yourself. You have wonderful careers. If this was you over here, you'd be putting some wonderful things out here. But my question to you is, what are you hoping to get out of sitting through this next 50 minutes with us? What would you like to learn? You want to learn something about motivation? Would you like to learn maybe leadership theory? Do you want, what? Because I want to glance at that and have Mark work with me so that I'm able to give you exactly what you might have needed and a reason to come here. Do you want to be a better leader? Do you want to understand people? You want to improve your EQ, emotional intelligence, social awareness, self-awareness, relationship management, self-management? What did you come here for? I'll give you just maybe 30 seconds, if you don't mind, if you fill up that chat. And again, there's no bad answers. If you just came here because you had to, that's fine too. But the point is, have fun, okay? Have fun learning, have fun engaging. But what is if it's just, I just wanted to see if I learned something, put it in there. I just don't want to miss anybody. I want to make sure you walk away with value. I define value as things that are meaningful and desirable. Okay,
So
I'll keep moving. Here is the presentation, all right? What I'm going to do is keep this simple, practical, make the concepts easy to apply. I'm going to explain leadership theory, the trait era, the behavioral era, the contingency era. And all that means is there's no best way to lead. Because when folks used to study trait theory in the early days, this is before all the industrial revolution, everything, what used to happen was, well, that person's a good leader because they got charisma. That person's a good leader because they can speak. That person's a good leader because they got energy. They've got those traits. And then behavioral theories came into play. And then the contingency, it's contingent upon the situation. That's where we're at today. I've used a lot of situational leadership. I'll explain what that is. It's pretty easy to understand. You look at 4 dimensions and you look at where your follower is and, are they mature? Do they need help? Do you coach? But I'm not going to get stuck there. I want to keep moving. But you're going to see those styles come up. You're going to learn a little bit about influence attempts and outcomes. Teach you how to ingratiate. Teach you how to compliment, to open, use your tone, tell an interesting story. You see, all those gain favorable attention. Then you bridge. So when you're working with people, you do have to talk the walk and walk the talk, because they are watching how you walk, what you talk. So you want to have integrity. You want to lead by example. You want to show people you care. And you want to be in your strength areas. You want them to be in your strength areas. I'm going to show you how to build intrinsic motivation, a simple model that I taught from the leadership and motivation course. And it's something I've used with my people. You're going to be doing some active learning here. That's where I based my whole teaching career is based on adult learning theory and active learning theory, Bonwell and Eisen. Process of doing and observing, dialogue with self and others. But I'm going to connect this to real world examples. Then we're going to have a little talk and I'm going to engage you more. Now I'm keeping good time. So I know once it's around 6 o'clock or so, I'm going to jump off of this. But I want to thank you for being here as again, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? I want to include everybody in the thank you. Maybe you don't speak that language or whatever that is, but I want you to know that I value diversity. And it's about all kinds of diversity, skill diversity, gender diversity, ethnic diversity. We are all one, and you have to remember that. Now, one thing that you can get, Mark, and you can share this PowerPoint out with everybody here, is it's an ebook we did on leading. I've written over 200 articles here. So I got with 2 of my colleagues, Dr. Charlie Minnick and Marty McAuliffe, and I said, let's fuse some of these in, and you guys can write some, and let's put a little book out that is free to the students. We did this through Bridgepoint. We did this through the system. And here you go. You got a copy here. I think you'll like this. It's all practical stuff. I'm not going to open it up, but you will like it. We're going to spend our time wisely here. Remember I told you about my 7-Up days? I missed my education because I discovered later in life that I loved lifelong learning. But back in those days, when I was hustling cases, having to go, I had to think of that almost like an athlete thinks. I had to keep my body right, my mind right, my focus, because we worked. Sometimes we work weekends, we work long hours. But the thing that I was always trying to do is make good, efficient use of time. But I also found Dennis Waitley, who is a psychologist that would train Olympic athletes, and I bought his cassette series, and I'd listen to all the things he talked. But here's a quote: "Time's an equal opportunity employer. Each human being has exactly the same numbers in hours and minutes. Rich people can't buy more hours, and scientists can't invent new minutes. You can't save time to spend on another day. Even so, time is amazingly fair and forgiving. No matter how much time you waste in the past, you still have an entire tomorrow." So if you slip off the horse, get back on and just keep focused. Now, when you look at the comments, Mark, I don't know if you're watching that chat or somebody can. Were there any comments in there that somebody might have said, I want to define leadership? See anything? I don't know.
Yeah, there were a lot of different things that people were interested in, and I think generally learning about leadership was one of the key themes. So
okay. Well, there's so many different definitions of leadership, and I'm going to show you what mine is. I'm going to show you what my operating philosophy's been. But here's just a few that I picked out of the management textbooks and some of the research I've done. Leadership's a function of knowing yourself, having a vision, visionary leadership, and that is well communicated, building trust, colleagues, taking effective action to realize your own leadership potential. Peter Northouse, in his book, Leadership Theory and Practice, tells us it's a process and it's influence. Leadership expert John Maxwell tells us leadership is influence, and that great leaders, here's a key word, inspire their followers to have confidence in themselves. I believe that I have been my whole career a servant, transformational style, ethical style leader. Okay, I'm here to serve you. That's why I'm here right now. My goal is to have a good session. My goal is to give you something you can use. If you walk away with one thing, I won. And I want to make sure that I do that in a very respectful way, a dignified way. I want to give you a meaningful, gratifying learning experience. John Maxwell, who I've read his books because I always found him inspiring. I listened to his CDs. I'd go for a walk, right? He says leadership's influence. Now, Dr. Mike Riley, Dr. Charlie Minnick and Donald Bach in their book, the management book we use in Management 330, says leading in a business context consists of all activities undertaking to help people achieve the highest level of performance. Leadership is influencing behaviors in organizations. Note that effective leaders' behaviors in positive ways and ineffective leaders also affect behaviors, but they don't always achieve the desired results. Now, I told you about the theories. Here's the timeline. You can look at this yourself, but levels of analysis, how leadership is studied, the intra-individual focuses on the individual, the psychological aspects, traits, and skills. So if you're looking at Bill Davis, you're saying, well, what are some of these aspects? What are his traits? What are his skills? The dyadic process, that's between the leader and the follower, how leaders influence. A lot of times that happens in a classroom because I'll be teaching or leading, and all of a sudden this student has an aha moment, brings in all of their skills and knowledge, and now all of a sudden I'm following them. That goes back and forth. Group processes. What are the keys to making meetings more effective? You lead a group. Organizational processes, emphasis on developing leaders who can interpret information and negotiate. Now, I'm going to keep this moving. Differing view on what is leadership. Is it a specialized role with responsibilities and functions that's vital to the group's effectiveness? Is it a process where any individual in the system may influence the group? Not all influence is leadership, or is it? Using rewards and punishment as coercion and not leadership. Why or how someone is effective is more closely related to leadership. We've all had leaders that have inspired us and just moved us forward. Others argue that leadership occurs when the act is ethical and beneficial. These are all the kind of arguments that are out there. Still, others view leadership very broadly and include all attempts to influence, regardless of the intent or benefit. Question motives, selfish acts. Some leaders, power is the ability to get things done the way you'd like it done. Some leaders sometimes don't quite use their power, the French Raven power taxonomy, to the way that they should. Sometimes it's just bad leadership. Doesn't mean they're bad. It just means maybe they're not influencing like they should, or maybe they're not as aligned, or maybe they're doing something different. And we can talk about some of these things. How do leaders influence? Their rational actions, their cognitive processes, their intellect. How do they influence? Only emotional aspects can account for exceptional achievements. You can't explain it's not rational, it's emotional. Sometimes we do find someone that inspires us. Example, where leaders inspire others to willingly sacrifice their selfish interest for a higher cause. Now, how do you define leadership? Well, my leadership definition, here it is. I like to break it down and simplify it. Because if somebody asks you, tell me, if you're in an interview, tell me what your definition of leadership is. I've interviewed many people. I even asked the question, tell me what your operating philosophy is. No, I wouldn't ask that directly. I'd get them talking, make them feel comfortable, right? But you'd want to know what's important to you. What do you value? What's your core values? My operating philosophy has always been this. I want to grow the organization, grow people. I want to serve them to the best of my ability, and I want to be a positive role model. I hope you see me as a good role model here, to step out and to try to do it, because that's very important. Here's something I learned in my Pepsi career. The men and women reflect the tempo of the boss. Now, you got to keep in mind, I'm a sales marketing guy, right? So we were always moving, trying to execute, do things, right? But can you imagine if you're in a situation like this and you're just kind of plodding along and going, Mark, did you make any sales? Oh, I'm gonna go get a sweet roll, I think. You see, instead of showing you the tempo that I'd like you to kind of, talk to walk and do that. It can happen sometimes. I mean, there's a time for a sweet roll or coffee, don't get me wrong. But the point that I'm making is, when you're growing and you're serving your role model, you want to remember some of your core guiding values, because people are watching, right? They watch, conscious or unconscious. Quality, innovation. These are the values that I embrace. I have my whole career. I showed you all those positions I had. Caring, you're dealing with people. Fairness, integrity, firm adherence to a standard, your principles. Servant, transformational style, ethical leadership. Gosh, I love it. I love it. I'm passionate about it. Teamwork, hard work. I'm telling you, all of this I've went through, I've worked my tail off, and I've appreciated progress. And what motivated me early on was progress. What motivated me to come here is progress, to see that this meeting came together. It's a kickoff. Progress. We're moving forward. Progress. Students are benefiting. Progress. Positive role modeling. So important. Could you imagine if I started this meeting out with, well, I'm going to be here, but I hope everybody doesn't make me talk more than 10 minutes because I've got to go get dinner pretty soon. That would not be right. You see, you want to, I'm not, I'm exaggerating that, but the point that I'm trying to make to you is be the example. Okay. That's so important. Now, we talk about ethical leadership. What is ethical leadership? Well, it's purposeful, strong values, life and work. And by the way, if you're taking notes, keep in mind, you're going to get this PowerPoint. Mark's going to give it to you. Okay. I mean, you're welcome to take notes, and Catherine, I happen to see you writing because you're in my screen. But the point that I'm making is that's okay. Take notes, but just know you're going to get this. Build trust. Everything lives and dies on trust, right? You got to earn trust. Trust is built a piece at a time and over time. You don't just give your trust away the first time or second time. You want to work into that. Self-discipline while acting on values. Remember I told you about EQ when I started? You got to self-manage. You got to be disciplined. You got to have passion. I hope you feel my passion, if anything, that I love what I do. And passion is a sense of energy for something. Positive role modeling. Actions speak louder than words. Talk the walk and walk the talk. Values. I respect for others. When I would teach junior achievement, the first thing we opened up on the first night with the kids in high school, I can't remember if they're juniors or seniors, but I'd go there to give me the binder, and the first section was on mutual respect, showing mutual respect to people. Treat everyone as an equal. Embrace diversity. I remember Dr. Steve Perry in 2011 at Ashford University in Clinton, Iowa. He took the stage. Now he works with all these children and underprivileged children in New York and school system. He's a CNN contributor. He told the graduates this when they left. He said, before you leave here, he says, number one, always be polite. Number two, say please and thank you. Number three, never overestimate your intelligence. Number four, never underestimate the intelligence of others. And his last one was pay it forward. Give it back. That's why I'm here in education. I've taught over 200 plus courses, and I love touching lives. I like seeing students succeed. I mean, to me, when they have an aha moment, I go, way to go, because they're connecting and they're applying. Newton Miller, his 2C method said, conceptualize, connect, conceptualize, connect. I learned that from him in 2011, and I said, oh, I'm integrating that in. I even used them in a course video that I built. The point that I'm making is be the example. Work toward the common good, utilitarianist ethic, right? Act in the best interest of the majority, the common good, the team. Represent your company and organization to the best of your ability. Be honest, transparent. See, with me, what you see is what you get. I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm comfortable being a leader. I'm comfortable representing, doing what I need to do. I've had to do that my whole life. I've had to get the job done. And now I'm optimistic. And a lot of times people say, well, you're too optimistic. You'd probably, you're not. No. I see the challenges. I see the journey. I just choose to look at them in a positive way, in an optimistic way, to say, well, we'll get through it and we're going to figure it out. Maybe we don't know it now, but let's see what we need to do. Let's sort this out. Let's get a game plan. Let's plan your work your plan. And that's how I look at it. I don't want to look at it as a skeptic. I wrote a Gandhi quote down. I put it up here. I heard it today. It said, I refuse to let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. And when I heard that quote, I thought, how many times do we let, and that's on the internet, by the way, but how many times do we let somebody that's maybe gaslighting us or negative or not looking at it optimistically, also we start thinking like that? We're connected to someone like that. See, dreams and goals do come true. They just take time. And sometimes they take a little more time. But if you're persistent and you're focused on a goal, you're moving toward that goal. They allow you to focus, they mobilize your attention, and increase performance because you have a goal. But here's all I wanted to tell you is confident leaders, people like to see optimism, right? Could you imagine if I used to use this all the time with my sales folks at Pepsi, I'd say, let the people see you energized and out there that I want to do some good. I got some enthusiasm. I want to make something happen. Don't sit in front of them and go, well, yeah, another day. I guess we got to do this. Well, try to sell something if you could. Okay. No, we got to execute. See, I was a general manager. This is the way I led. I remember one time I gave a bunch of loader items, Pepsi sweaters, this. I said, telling the team they did a wonderful job last week. And I happened to, some of the people came out of the office and the gentleman didn't even give the stuff out with enthusiasm. He just left it there. And when he presented, he said, there's some stuff in a box. If you want it, just go and take what you want. I said, don't deliver your thank you and your appreciation like that. I talked to that DM later, and corrected that vision a little bit. But anyway, the optimist sees the glass half full, the pessimist sees the glass half empty, and the realist, well, the realist knows you got to wash it and put it away. So keep your objectivity, all right? Now, another thing for the chat. Think about the most influential leader that you know. What characteristics make them so influential? Just jot something in there. Is it honesty? Is it energy? Is it enthusiasm? Is it their planner? Is it just jot some in there? First thing comes to mind. And I'll just keep moving because I'm watching time. Now, I told you about trust. I had to build trust in every one of those roles. And when I taught at St. Ambrose University, I taught their professional selling course, right? And I'm Dale Carnegie trained and all that. But I learned trust a long time ago. And the 5 dimensions of trust are honesty, confidence, dependability, reliability, likability. You hope people are honest, they're competent, they can do the task, they're dependable. And if I give you my trust, are you reliable? Will you deliver like you should have? Could you imagine if I told Mark, hey, we're gonna have a meeting at 5 o'clock, and then Mark, I didn't show up till 5:15 and I kept him waiting. He'd probably give me a break. Then he'd give me maybe another break, but eventually he'd start thinking, Bill's just not that reliable. You see, all of those factors in there. Now, likability is one. Remember, sometimes I look at, in my career, I'd see managers and they say this, well, I really don't care if the people like me or not. I've got a job to do. I said, hey, let's change that a little bit because now again, I'm dating myself, but I'm talking 80s and 90s. And I go, you know what? Being liked ain't too bad at all either, though. Treat them good, treat them good, work with the people, work with everyone, but open communication, common goals, commitment to mutual support. But trust is nothing but a belief that belief by one party, the other party will fulfill its obligations and relationships. Mark, you trusted me with this floor. I hope I'm not disappointing you. See, that's trust in the dynamic. That's an action. Now, here's my principles for you. These are kind of the secrets that have been driving me. Some people might think I'm over enthusiastic or whatever, but let me tell you, here's how I focus. Be passionate and do what you love. Work hard and deliver high quality work. It's got to be quality. I used to say in the Pepsi days, plan your work your plan. But if you're not planning and you're putting bad inputs out there that are sloppy, usually sloppy in and sloppy out, go back and reevaluate. Let's see what we need to do. But see, I was always engaged with my teams. Now, work hard, develop high quality work. Success comes from really hard work. You can't think about the degrees you've achieved academically, your business, you can't do it without hard work. You got to plan that, but be good, give your best, and really be good at making a positive impact and creating meaningful results. One of the things that I always said was, focus, work hard, keep balance, all your roles in life, relax. Sometimes life happens, Murphy's Law, but have fun. I got that advice from my mentor, Dr. Hope Gardena, when I started in education. She said to me, Bill Davis, have some fun in there though. You're a little tight up there in front of the students. Enjoy it. Ask some open-ended questions, draw them in. I was leading in the classroom, and then when they got it, I was following. You see, that's the dyadic. Push the limits, build capacity, expand your capacity. When my executive dean, Bob Doherty, said, would you be a program chair? I said, well, wasn't really what I came here to do. I love teaching. I said, but if you thought it through and that's what you want, I'm in. I built some capacity. You see, push the limits, go over and above, execute well. Now, one of my best friends told me in the Pepsi days, in the 7-Up days, he goes, Bill, you just hustled. You hustled, you executed. I was always hustling. You're hustling to get all these academic achievements, your career achievements, promotions, you're hustling. Do your best, but serve people, create ideas, be innovative, find newer and better ways of doing things. But listen, be persistent and show people that you care and you're dedicated to leading by example. Laura Palmer Noon says this. She's our past provost. She says are you ready for this? The 3 most important attributes for success. It's not rocket science. Attitude, attitude, attitude. And I'm telling you, it works. Think about how you think. And if you're having a bad day, have a bad day, go to bed. Sometimes if I'm tired and I'm a little off, I want to go back and get that balance, because maybe there's some distressful situation, right? But if it's you stress and I'm pushing, eat right, balance, get your walk in, come back, get your time, focus. But remember, keep a good attitude, keep a positive attitude. Dr. Charlie Minnick, one of my mentors, friend, I asked him yesterday, so I want to quote you, because I've heard a lot of good quotes from Dr. Minnick. And we've been friends since 2001. He was my professor at St. Ambrose. And he said this, here you go. He said, we all get where we are in life because people have believed in us and provided us with opportunities. Be the leader that pays it forward and provides opportunities with others. That's what I've been talking about. Servant, transformational style leaders. And Charlie does. Charlie was the president of the campus. There's his title now. He's the lead faculty in the MBA program. But he's always cared about people. Now, leadership styles. You got this. This is from Business 105. Here's the basics. And you could look at this and think about the leaders that you have or you've worked for. I've learned from 3 types of people. Those I never met, read their books, they're up here, and see their videos and go, I seem to relate to them. I've also learned from those that maybe I didn't like to work for too much, right? But I had to work for them because they're in the system, but they taught me some things to do because they had good in them. And then they taught me some things maybe I wouldn't do if I'm leading. But then you find that person, as Charlie said, that leader that you ever line up with a leader that you just go, boy, they think the world of me. I've done something right. They rely on me. I'm their go-to person. I'm in sync with this person. See, those leaders present you with opportunities. And my point is, but you got to play with the team versus against it, or you don't get the breaks, right? You want to be adaptable. You want to be flexible. But here's all the styles: authoritarian, democratic, laissez-faire. You've seen those kind of leaders. What I'll say, well, I'll just send you this, and you take a look at it and see what you think. And they're not impacting. Sometimes they're not engaging. And engaging don't mean beat you up with all this stuff. It means working with you. But ethical leaders, they act with a moral purpose and integrity to do what's right. And they're fair in service of the common good. They decide to act ethically due to personal values and convictions. I hope you feel my integrity, my commitment to my values. Servant works selfishly with followers to achieve shared goals that improve collective rather than individual welfare. See, I always believe line up with the leadership, line up with the system, line up with the structure, the strategies, the culture. People matter. Transactional. Exchange. We work for those kind of leaders where we'll say, well, I need you to do this and we'll do this. And here's your job. And that is part of it, right? But what about when you get a transformational style leader that leads with a shared vision? Here's where we're going. Here's the steps I got. When Mark and I were planning this event, he was a transformational leader telling me, I'd like you to do this. Here's the vision I see. Let's do a quick timeline. Bill, will you outline it? Give me your idea. I'll give you mine. Here's the way I think it'll go. He gave me a vision. Once, did you know that John Medina says that vision trumps all the other senses? He's the one that wrote Brain Rules, Dr. John Medina. You got to be able to see it, right? Once you see it, you got it. Now you set the goals to get it, right? I believe it all starts with a vision. See your success and then understand your sense of mission and gain respect and trust. Here's really something for you that you can keep. Transactional leaders versus transformational leaders. I just think this is so important in leading. I mean, when you look at leading and coaching, are you really, let's look at transformational. Are you really providing a vision and a sense of mission and instilling pride in people? Are you gaining their respect and trust? Are you motivating them? Are you communicating high expectation using symbols to focus efforts, express important purposes in simple ways? I hope you don't find me too simple here as I'm breaking it down. But the point is, as I edutain you with some stories and different things, I'm trying to show you it's all application, right? Talk the walk, walk the talk, lead. Intellectual stimulation promotes intelligence, rationality, careful problem solving. Let's think this through. Let's break this down. Individual consideration gives personal attention, treats each employee individually, coaches and advises. I have to tell you a quick story. I'm in Chicago. We had the whole operation in the back. My office was up in front. We had all my DMs were out there with me in North Chicago. And I remember this gentleman came up to the office that, I had this box where we used to help some of the employees if they were in a little distress or something. And he needed $50 or something for the electric or something. And he came up by the office and he said, Mr. Davis, can I talk to you? And he sat down. I said, come on in. And the next thing you know, I was having him sign some paperwork so he could get this money and his family would be okay. Well, anyway, when I left that place, he went up to the new general manager there and was poking around the office. And here's the difference. That general manager said, what are you doing up here? You don't belong up here. Well, could I talk to you? He said, no, get in the back. That's where you belong. That's terrible. That's not giving consideration to someone. It's an example. Many times you see people not treating people the way people deserve to be treated. That's all I'm saying. And so treat people, give them consideration, whether it's a student calling you or whatever that is to help or needs an extra day. Work with people. Transformational leaders model the way, they inspire shared vision, they challenge the process, they enable others to act. And here, they encourage the heart. You feel them. You want to work for them. Now, here we go. You want to build motivation? Here's a simple 4-step formula for you from Kenneth Thomas's Intrinsic Motivation. We use this in, I think it was Management 415, I think was the course, Leadership Motivation. Love this, love this, love this, right? When it comes to the task, give people a sense of choice. Let them know, oh, you can do this. You know, you made the choice. You see it. Give them a sense of confidence. You know, there's no doubt in my mind you can do this. Mark gave me a sense of confidence by trusting me and telling me, I'm going to give you the floor. What's your topic? This. He gave me choice. He gave me confidence. Bill, you've been doing this for so long. I'm sure you. Thank you, Mark. And then on the purpose, the last one is the purpose. He gave me meaning because he believes in what he's doing. Clifford believes in what he's doing. Ming Zen believes in what they're doing. This whole honors college, they honestly know that this is meaningful for you, this honors program. And I've been in the meetings. They want the very best for you. They want this meaningful. And then lastly, as people are progressing, let them know they're progressing. You know, I've used this with my son when he was going to get his master's, his MBA, and he was going through work, and then he'd call sometimes and he'd say on the phone, oh, they got me working here. I got this, I got that. And I could tell he's a little tired, right? Guess what Dad did on the phone? See, if Dad would have did this, well, now come on, buckle down. You got to be a little tougher. Come on. Now we don't want to hear that attitude. We want to get you, you know, if I would have did something like that, I would have lost him, right? He probably wouldn't be calling me as much as he did, right? What I did, I said, hey, John, remember one thing. You made a great choice to go to school. You made a great choice to get this experience. You're making so many great choices. And from a confidence side, you're much smarter than I ever was on these things. You're figuring it out. I'm proud of you. Hey, and you're moving forward. A college degree is going to be very meaningful. You're going to get your MBA. See, and look at the progress you're making. You got 4 more left. Now think about that. You see my energy, see my enthusiasm. Guess what I hit? Choice, confidence, meaningful, progress. I just talk to people like that when I give something, and all of a sudden, everybody's moving. Now, I'm a big fan of John Maxwell. I had the opportunity to go to his international conference in 2019 and meet him. And I just relate to him right at the top because I've never met him until then. And that was enough for me to meet him and go through this and go through the whole 4-day thing. There was over 4,000 people here from all over the world. We were breaking down language barriers. We were teaming. I was listening to him speak. But here's his DNA. And I love this. Model consistency, be consistent. Mark, have you always found me consistent? Now, you might find me with a lot of energy, right? You might find me over here or there, but I'm consistent. I'm always trying to add value. I'm always trying to give you a little more than you asked for, exceed expectations. I'm equipping people, equipping myself, you, I'm taking what you give me, but we're equipping each other. We're leading and lifting others. We're consciously and intentionally active, engaged, motivating, and inspiring in the ongoing influence and encouragement of others. We do that. It's in our MO, our modus operandi, how we do it. But back to Laura Palmer Noon, you got to demonstrate a positive attitude. Maxwell sees that too, right? You got to live that. It's contagious, just like a negative attitude is contagious. First impressions last long and bad ones last longer. So make a good one. Nurture people in their transformation. When I would give somebody a tough task, I was right there to go, is that going okay? How you doing? You know, hey, maybe you're a little tight here. Let's do this. That works, but come alongside and offer to identify and envision and inspire and guide needed change. Now, the handouts, we don't have time to go through because I want to get some discussion with you. But all I'm going to tell you, you're going to see different ways on those handouts, Mark, and you can share them on how to influence, like ingratiation, like a compliment, like a interesting story. You know, all of those things play in terms of influencing people. And as a matter of fact, I could just briefly show you this here real quick. Otherwise, I'd be remiss. Here's some influence tactics. Rational persuasion. I've got a buddy that would call me and he would say, I just can't get through to the people I work with. And he's in a whole different industry. And I said, can I tell you something? We're good friends. We've known each other for too long. The way you try to influence, though, is through rational persuasion all the time. You want to give them all the facts and details. Maybe you got to shift your gears a little bit and understand the culture a little bit, and maybe use something different. Maybe build some rapport. Maybe do some exchange tactics. Maybe do a personal appeal. Ask. Maybe ingratiate. Did you ever stop and come in and just ingratiate for 5 minutes to get to know someone? Compliment them. Hey, I noticed this. Emphasize. Mark, the first time I met you was I didn't know you, but you were on one of those videos and you were in the training. All right. And what did I tell you when I first met you? See, this stuff happens. It's not planned. It's just ingrained in me now because I've been doing it for so long. The first thing I said, Mark, I remember you talking and training in that thing and you had the microphones out, and I won't never forget that. You made a great impression on me. I did that naturally. And what happens is I ingratiated you. Now, I'm not going to go, okay, there's Mark. What do I have to do? No, it just starts to happen. Why? Because you understand this. You understand the top three you like. Legitimizing, right? You ever see pressure tactics? People put pressure on you. Hey, you know what? We need this by Tuesday. Hey, Catherine and Mark, is that project going to be done by Wednesday? Now that's fair. Sometimes you got to ask that question, right? But you want to use tact, right? Where you say it, how you say it, who you say it to, what you do. That's an art too. If you're going to lead. But the point that I'm making is sometimes we can create pressure and we don't want to create pressure, right? Coalition tactics, credible people who support your proposal. Bring someone along to help you and influence them. Anyway, you've got this. Now, I just want to show you what happens when we try to influence, okay? Let's see, I think I've got influence. Maybe I lost that one. Well, let's do this. I'm just going to tell you what the three are because I don't have that slide up. I thought I did. All right. What happens is you either get compliance or you get resistance. You get resistance, compliance, or you get commitment. Okay. And a lot of times when you're trying to influence or do something, and you can read about it, I've got all laid out. Sometimes people will, things are normal in a culture. They delay. They don't respond right away. They try to change your request. Sometimes those are normal. All right. They're pervasive. They happen every day. Bill, can you present tomorrow night? Mark, I really can't. I think I'll just avoid Mark to see if he doesn't ask me again. You see, a lot of times people delay. We've seen it, all right? I'm exaggerating this a little bit, but the point that I'm trying to make to you is you're going to like these things when you read them, and it just works. Here, picture's worth 1,000 words. I just want to show you. Here's where it all started for me. This is 79, actually started in 76. But that was hard work. We'd run a couple loads. I grew and got in executive level positions. Here's a great leader, mentor. Linda Kuga was the most powerful woman in Canada. She brought me over there to the PepsiCo system. Here's my team in Chicago. Used to take the whole staff out for Secretary's Day all the time. And we had a good cohesive team. And then here's some stuff at St. Ambrose, Dr. William Woods. But the point that I'm making is I'm having fun. Are you having fun in your career? I hope you are. And I hope you grab the moments and share them. I hope you got something out of this because, this comes from Dr. Liz Tice. And she wrote a book in EXP 105. And I love the book and I taught from it, the education course. It was an entry level. And in that book, she had the learning knowledge cycle. And I just absolutely, Liz Cruson today, so my apologies. But Dr. Cruson, she had this in here with Mary Alexander and Wayne Cluxton, said learning is an engaging process. It results in knowledge, but the Concept of knowledge is an ironic one. You can discover something, claim it, possess it at the end of a learning process, but it's still invisible. You know you possess it. You can say, okay, I got it, but that doesn't make it visible. Your new knowledge does not become visible until you take action. See me taking action with transformational, servant, ethical style leadership, right? You're seeing that come out of me. Came from somewhere. Came from my education. See, people learn on the job, off the job, and through the job. Off the job is your academic goals. It's all the things you're studying, your research. Now, here's an article for you. One of mine, I've written over I've probably written about, I don't know, 125 of these. I taught over 200 courses, but I use these. I did them with Ashford to just help educate my students. And they're not just me. There's some, research in there that I'll find, and I'll put it together, 700-800 words. But these impact, and this is more about expectancy theory. That do you believe you can do something? Will you do the things that are necessary to get it? Instrumentality, and is there balance, meaning you value the outcome? Okay, let's have a little discussion. And I apologize because we went a little bit over what I wanted. But let me just ask some questions to all of you, and I'm gonna leave this up. Now, who's a leader? You can turn your mic off and whatever you want to say, but who's a leader?
Well, everyone's a leader because everyone has some sort of influence in their lives, no matter what it is. Influence someone at the grocery store as much as you anything else.
I have an old saying. I'm going to move this over here, and I've shared this. I'm not going to share with you till later. You can use this for them later, Mark. I'll give it to you. But who's a leader? Derek, thanks for being first there. Could be the person at the grocery store. Could be the person that's greeting you. Could be a politician, a public administrator. Could be a volunteer, a citizen, a voter, radio talk show. We're all leaders, right? Your parents, coaches. You're leading. You're influencing along those. Just don't forget that. And when you look at the 5 functions of management: planning, organizing, leading, controlling, staffing, right? When you look at it's one coordinated system. You got to do them all. But leadership, influencing is so important. And are you a good leader? Derek, thank you. You're absolutely right. Any more? Anybody else?
I think a leader is somebody who's not afraid to do what his or her team does. Like, they don't hold themselves higher than them.
Love it. I absolutely love that. And not a whole lot of ego. I'm part of the group. I'm participative. PepsiCo taught me in the early days 3 basic styles. It's just bubbling up to the surface of my brain because you said that. But dictatorial, participative, permissive management styles, meaning participate with them. You know how I got ahead on those trucks? I used to put the gloves in my pocket and go out and work with them and run loads and everything. I didn't care to show up in a suit and a tie and look at them while they're working. I was right there in it with them.
When I became a supervisor in high school, well, right after high school at McDonald's, it was my second job. And the manager looked at me like, here, go sweep the floor. I'm like, why? He's like, it doesn't matter if you're a supervisor, a manager, or just someone working, you sweep the floor like everybody else. And that just stuck with me the entire time. Like, I would never ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
You're leading by example, and I love it. And I just love the whole participative type style. And good for you. And and we do have to have titles and roles and what people do. Don't get me wrong, but when you're really committed to serving, when you're really committed to being transformational, when you're really committed to the organization and lined up, you just do more. What do leaders do? Obviously, Catherine said that they will clean the floor and they'll do all those. But what do they do? I mean, are they courageous? What do they do?
I think they're passionate. They lead by example.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was going to say a leader inspires and a manager dictates. So that was something I got from other leadership groups.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And we run into those, and they that's right here. It says, they manage, they dictate, they negotiate, and they compromise. You're going to get this here too. Sometimes they make others angry. Sometimes they make others happy, right? Sometimes we've had bad leaders. We know sometimes if, what a good leader looks like to us. We're going to ask you that question. Does leadership matter?
I think so. I think it does. I think you have people, I look at the team I'm on now, and there's some on the team, like myself and another one, that we will go and think outside of the box and do extra things, where there's others that need the leader. They want someone to follow. So I think a leader is important, because you're going to have a combination of those who will go outside the box, or others that just want to follow along.
Yeah, very, very good. Very good. You're right. And sometimes they take risks, they do more. Here's I'm just going to keep us moving here. When you look at, does leadership matter? Organizations do survive without strong leadership. If it works, no need to fix it. So maybe you don't need a lot of leaders. The process works. But strong leadership is essential for dealing with change, unexpected events. But you need strong leadership to face the countless resistance in the market, and different things are going on. It matters because they bring values, beliefs. The ethics of leaders impact organizational effectiveness. And leadership is emotional, not rational. Group of individuals to persuade and influence. I mean, there's all kinds of different styles of leadership. Remember, I showed you that style of when I was calling on in my role, we were calling on a nuclear power plant, right? And I'd go to the gate to get access into the facility, and they had all these restrictions and everything, but they were leading very, very tight. There was no ingratiating or nothing. It was like, go sign in, do this, do that, wait for the, you had to follow their system, right? Because of control and safety and everything else. And it didn't matter who you were. But the point is, it is situational. So you have to understand the context and the culture you're in. Let me ask you this. What is your ideal leader? If you could pick a leader, what would that leader look like? If anybody wants to jump in, what would you want from a leader? Would you want them to be considerate? Would you want them to be kind? Would you want them to be planners? Tell me a little bit about what your ideal leader looks like. Desirable and undesirable characteristics.
I think for me, a leader should build equity in their team. That's one of the biggest, along with a lot of transformational qualities. I've had leaders where their flaws are what inspired me, where I watched their interpersonal and interpersonal skills it made themselves their own enemy. And I know that these SMEs will never go past where they're at, because they don't have that ability to build a team and pull that equity amongst everybody.
Outstanding, Joshua. Thank you. That is such a great answer. And you see those dynamics, you see those situations, you assess them quick. You got a pretty good read of the dynamics within the culture. You understand the importance of communication. You understand the importance of good people management. Very, very good. Thank you for those. Anybody else want to comment on your ideal leader?
I think for me, an ideal leader is someone who is open to having a conversation with you. Like, I know in my current position, one of the things that my manager says to me is that if you're going to come to me with a problem, come to me with at least 3 solutions with that problem, so that it's not just always, it makes you think outside before even approaching someone above you. But then when you go to them, having a way to discuss it with them, as opposed to just sitting back and saying, okay, now it's your problem, tell me how to fix it. So encouraging that extra step of educating yourself.
Sarah, thank you so much for that. I mean, you gave us a ton there, and I appreciate that. And you really broadened the scope here for us. I can't say enough about openness, and I can't say enough about dialogue. Dialogue is only dialogue if it's meaningful, empathetic, and equitable. Has to fit all of those. And if that's going on and there's open communication, isn't that wonderful that people are allowing you to have a voice and talk? Because you're all familiar with the power distance, concept and leadership. If there's high power distance, they're not involving the employees below, but if it's low power distance, they are. And when it's high power, Hofstede's model of power distance, when you look at all that and you think about it, I've been in cultures where everybody's voice matters. And we want to hear you. And then once we hear you, though, we kind of get the focus, and that's where we're going as a team. But boy, Sarah, fantastic points. Thank you for that input. Anybody else before I go on to the next question? We're just headed for the home stretch here, so please bear with me. Anybody else want to comment on your ideal leader? Any qualities? So let's do this, because I did promise we're going to end on time. We're a minute over. My apologies. Let me ask you this right now. Do you, what's some takeaways you got from this? I mean, we were kind of bouncing in a couple areas. I mean, there was a lot that is laying out here for you. What might you want to remember? You're going to get the PowerPoint. You're going to get the influence tactics, compliance, commitment, resistance. But I'm just looking to see, boy, there's some great stuff in the chat here too. What are your takeaways? Anybody? No right or wrong. I mean, this isn't heavy duty stuff, right? It's all part of the functions of managing. But boy, do you agree with me though that leadership is important?
Oh, for sure. Very much so.
And, Jack Welch says it's when you see it, you'll know it. I mean, the late Jack Welch, when you see leadership. And I've always looked at, like I said, with my definition, influence, inspire, improve others, right? And they have integrity. Oh, God, I believe that. And, I've worked for people that sometimes I go, they don't really care. They don't have integrity. They're taking they're not doing that right. They want this, but they're not fully aligned with their core value. Now, sometimes you just got to work with that, right? You can't change some of those things. That's their prerogative. But when you see people really genuinely caring, Andrew Clark told me the best advice he gave me back in 2006 when I was on campus. I never forgot this. He said, when you're teaching, Bill, don't ever forget this: quality, innovation, and caring. Quality in all you do, innovate, find new and better ways to reach people, and care. Show them that you care. In other words, what he was telling me was consideration. What he was telling me was be consistent. What he was telling me was find those ways to reach the people. I can't tell you how much I appreciate, all of you tonight, Derek, Joshua, all of you that have inputted here. Sarah, you've just enhanced, keyword, enhanced this whole meeting with your contribution. And to me, I just want to know before I hang up here, did you walk on a scale of 1 to 10? Did you get any value? I mean, was it worth the time, or what do you think? Mark, anybody? I mean,
I think it was valuable. I give you a 10. It was nice to get your perspective on leadership and a lot of, it's my degree path here. Organizational management and leadership is my pathway here at UAGC. So it's nice to get your take and your perspective of a lot of what, we've gone through.
Yeah, thank you, Joshua. And the one thing I'm saying is people learn on the job, off the job, and through the job. And a lot of my learning is experiential, and it's also through the academic side. And, so what you're hearing from me, it might come out quick, but there's a whole fusion here of, stuff you're getting. But it's up to you to pick and choose, right? If you go to the grocery store, you're not going to buy every item in the store, right? But the point I'm making is, what did you walk away with? Is it passion? Is it, and it's okay. There's usually 1 out of 10 will say, well, I really didn't get anything from this. That's okay too. That's fair. You might be totally equipped. But the point that I'm making, though, I just want to see, did we do any good? Did we do you any good? Catherine, any good?
I think so. I know I'm coming back to finish my degree, and it's really like, where do I go from here? So I have a great career. I love my career, and I don't know what I want to do with it in my next steps. So it just kind of opens my mind to what is out there to use my future degree with.
Good. And Catherine, listen, if any of you ever want to dial me up, bill.davis@uagc.edu. I will gladly take the time, put you through behavioral interviewing questions, talk to you, coach you. I mean, it's just my side of it, but I've been through interview companies, consultants, you know, fly here, fly there, get in front of people. I mean, I've had a whole bunch of experience being in front of people through my career. And also, so I would be very happy to help anyone here that might want some time. I've mentored a lot of students. I've seen a lot of success stories. You do it, not me, but sometimes, you know, just having a coach here can make all the difference in the world. And you're going to do it your way. It's your career. You've done all this, not me, but just know that it doesn't hurt. You know, when I make decisions, I might be 90% sure of what I want to do, but I might call Clifford or Mark or something and go, hey, I want to get your frame on something. You know, Clifford ran a science book club, and there were times it was so interesting to me, the stuff he was teaching that was outside of my discipline, but I went, I'm going to have an open mind here. I'm going to listen. But I was honest. And I said, hey, I didn't fully read the book yet though, but I'm going to come to you. He goes, don't you worry about that. Here's what's going on. You see, you want to get the frames of the people to help you succeed before you make your decision. And I always look at, you know, go get the frames, go get intelligence. That's a beautiful baby you got there, Catherine. You want to do some intelligence, you want to draw some conclusions, and then you want to turn around and you want to keep moving and look at your past experiences, then finally make a decision. Doesn't mean it's going to be 100% right? But you went through the discipline of a process. But just know that I care, and I will help anyone here anytime. If you need some help, Mark knows that. Clifford, that just send you, come my way. Be glad to help. Any other final comments? I appreciate all these comments. And Mark, if there's a way to get these comments, I'd love them, because I'll just file them away and I'll learn from these. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna save the chat along with the recording, and I asked people early on to state golden nuggets, things that stuck out over the presentation. So people shared some of those throughout the chat, so you'll get to see that as well.
Yeah, and Mark, when I'm done, you're going to get the PowerPoint. You're going to get the 2 docs, Word docs, and then you can mail them out. But Mark, I guess since you're here, you and Clifford, how do we do? Did we get your expectations? Everything good?
Bill, I just want to express my appreciation here for the emphasis you place on service. Leadership as service and leadership as fostering transformation. Because to me, those are 2 central tenets that I approach education, the practice of education with. To me, those are so vital. And I think in recognizing that really in the most effective leadership, there's no real space for the ego. It's about working together. You know, it's about sweeping the floor too. It's about being really a part of something, and then fostering, promoting human transformation, human becoming, which is what it's all about. So I just really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that too. And you know, it is so true. You know, I remember back in my Pepsi days, I'd be part of United Way, and I'd go teach the sales executives, right? You know, and they're calling on different accounts. And I remember hearing a commercial one time that said, you know, isn't it a great pleasure being a part of something that's bigger than you, right? That's what you just made me feel when you talked, because we are all here for students. We're in this to further success and further learning. Keep the main thing, student learning. So, Mark, any final comments? And then I guess we can duck out, I guess, if that's good.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. Wonderful presentation. Thank you to everybody who attended. We really appreciate it. Like I said, this is our first event of the launch. We're going to have another event in August. I believe I will send out the information on that. I'm blanking on the date, but it will be either the 1st or 2nd week of August. And Clifford is actually going to be heading up the facilitation of that one. I might help him a little bit on that if he needs anything from me, but we will do another similar discussion for the next 3 months on each of the core pillars of the honors program. So next month will be global issues, global perspective. Correct, Clifford?
And I think I'll be looking at wicked problems, particularly in the environment, and the challenge of making sense of problems that just seem overwhelming, such as climate change, biodiversity loss, these kinds of things, and teasing apart the many strands that go into making it so challenging. So that's my plan at this point anyway.
Thank you, Clifford.
Mark,
So, yeah,
did we want to ask too? I know that a number of students here communicated that they're interested in learning more about the honors program. Are there any questions out there
Yeah.
about, our new program includes these various events such as this. There are 3 courses as well. There's a learning community. Does anyone have any specific questions before we go? Joshua, I see your hand raised.
Yes, so I've looked at the UAGC application and it does not request the letters of recommendation, nor does it talk about the difference between scholar or fellow. But going through the online portal, it takes me back to Ashford, which requires me to choose between fellow or scholar, coupled with professional or academic letters of recommendation.
I believe we were working on, there was a little, so this just transitioned July 1st, and I think that might be a little bit of a technical glitch that the link is still going to the old form. So I think we're working on that. I did see an email chain from Ming Jen earlier that they were working on figuring this out. But that, so you, from the honors informational page through UAGC, when you click on the application part, it's still taking you to an, sorry, go ahead.
So no, when you follow the directions and you go to my forms and you go to registrar online forms,
Okay.
and when you select the honors application, it goes back to an Ashford application that's contradictory to the mail-in application.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll need to make sure that that is fixed. So thank you for pointing that out, Joshua. And that's, yeah, just that, we're just now getting students applying to the new program in the last less than a week. So
I guess this leads to my 2 questions. Are the letters of recommendation still required under UAGC? And is there the possibility of fellow versus scholar still?
There are, with the new design, the letters of recommendation are no longer necessary. The honors program experience really consists of 2 required components. The one component is 3 courses. Those courses are in the process of being retooled. I'm involved right now in a redesign project on honors 270, and eventually in the next year or so, 280 and 490. So those are going to be the 3 courses that will be the traditional curriculum. And then there's also a 15-hour requirement for participation or leadership in co-curricular events such as this very one right now, and such as honors live learning programs that are going to be launching next month. So those are the 2 required components. Then there's a learning community where there's not only a lot of resources, but an opportunity to meet peers and greet them, but also to have dialogue, have conversation, both academic and more of a networking nature. And that is entirely new as well. It's a new component. So we have eliminated the fellow and scholar tracks as we've transitioned from college to program.
Is there still, I'm sorry. Is there still an essay required? I remember seeing that on the application. Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Actually, it's a couple hundred words shorter under the new application.
Yeah. Hemingway, we're inspired by Hemingway.
Well, wonderful evening. Thank you so much, everyone. I can't say enough for you made my day, and I appreciate the feedback and the interaction and the education. To me, that dyadic was at play here. You were teaching me, I was listening. Keep leading the way. Keep leading the way. We need good leaders, and we're all proud of you. I'll tell you that. And I know when I see students succeed, and I know we're from the same place, and they got my vote of confidence. And look at the commitment that Catherine has made to attend this while holding her beautiful baby.
It's her bedtime. Or right about.
There we go.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Bill,
you.
and everybody for attending. I will stick around a little bit longer in case there are any more questions, but I'm going to stop the recording now.